Towson ball. You know, when baseball comes out this time of year, it's amazing how many of my baseball buddies I wind up running into, whether it's out in the middle of Arizona last week, before my illness, or here in Baltimore. This guy was a Major League Baseball player. You know, I remember his name from back when I was a kid and, watching him try to make the Major Leagues and get up with the Twins and get up with the Braves. There was always something, Brian Kowitz, in the Sunday Sun, and I worked at the Sun papers, you remember, that we had Marylanders in the minors. Do you remember that? Marylanders in the minors? Your stats would show up every Sunday. Remember that?
I remember. Yeah, I remember. That was the only way you could follow the guys from your hometown was Marylanders in the minors.
Yeah, it was either that or like the Baseball Digest or, Sporting News when they would put the minor league stuff in there. But that wasn't like always. And let's be honest, dude, there was no internet. I mean, if your uncle wanted to know how you were hitting, he either had to call you, he couldn't email you, or he had to wait for the Sunday paper to come out. But, hey, man, how's life? Good to see you around town. And you've never, left Baltimore, right? I mean, you went and played baseball, but you've been back here forever, right?
Yeah, I went to Boys Latin High School, and, I was born and raised in the Owings Mills area and Pikesville area. And, I went to Clemson and, then I went and played, professionally for about 7 years and then came back home and, had raised a family. I've, my wife and 3 kids here and, they all go to local schools in the area. And,
baseball family too. Point that out. Kids play ball, right?
Yeah. My son plays, baseball for, McDonough High School and I have 2 daughters. Now my daughters play lacrosse. Well, I should say that my youngest daughter actually plays softball, who's 8, and my daughter, who's 14, she plays lacrosse. And I think she may end up one day playing in college.
Well, I mean, you had that experience, right? And I guess on opening day, we all get romantic about this, right? Because I think any guy like you that spent your life in baseball, or a guy like me that I've spent my life in baseball and sports, in and around batting cages as a young guy myself when you were trying to make it. Incidentally, I got a great Richmond Brave story to tell you, so I'll tell that in a couple minutes. But opening day, my dad and I never went to opening day. Isn't it funny enough? My dad, we would always go to the Wednesday night game. We would always go to the game we freeze our ass off, and there were 7,000 people at Memorial Stadium. My dad didn't like the crowds of opening day and sort of the pomp and circumstance of all of it. He's like, they got 161 more. They got 81 more. How about we'll go to different games? And my dad and I went to the ballpark all the time, but I know everyone has a different association. And for you, I mean, when did you fall in love with baseball? I mean, it's always your parents, right? It's usually your dad, right?
I've always loved baseball. When I was a kid, I used to throw the ball around as a little kid when I was, 5, 6 years old, and my dad was working, and I was playing ball with my mom. And one day, my dad comes home, and my mom says, Jack that's his name. He goes, I think we need to get him in a league or something because he just seems different.
He's got a lot of energy, this one.
Yeah, he's just, he's catching the ball a little like. It just looks, it seems like we should just get him. And then I played in a Pikesville Little League team, and I was really nervous. I was, intimidated, and then my second year, I really fell in love with it, and I just was just catching the ball. I loved going and chasing the ball down, running the ball down, and taking away hits and diving and.
See, I had a neighborhood. We played baseball from the minute we got up until the minute we went to bed, from the first day that school ended till the day they sent our asses back on Labor Day. Yeah, I mean, it was nothing but baseball in my neighborhood. People talk to me about lacrosse. We didn't have anyone in my neighborhood that played lacrosse. Literally no one. There was a kid over in Berkshire that used to stand against the wall and literally throw the ball against the wall. Now, this city's completely different 35 years later, right? I mean, kids play lacrosse everywhere. It's probably hard to run around and find a pickup ball game where you got 10, 12 guys to play pitcher's hand and play the right side of the field. And for you left-handed guys, you guys were always we didn't let the left-handed kids play in our neighborhood. We discriminated. Left-handed, because we didn't all want to have to move from third base over to first base to play because we didn't have 20 kids to play. Well,
there's so many options and choices, not just sporting wise, but just with the internet and the e-games and the phones and the computers and it's not like that anymore. Where you go out in the neighborhood and you just get a pickup game, and it just doesn't happen anymore. We would play with tennis balls. I remember always
Always,
playing with
sure.
tennis balls,
And lose them.
and
How often did you lose them or break them, right? I mean, it was crazy.
and they were at a premium because it wasn't like now you just you run into a sporting goods store, you grab some tennis balls, you grab big. I mean, it just didn't seem like there were those things were available. I mean,
The only place I get tennis balls was the Kmart, right? And sometimes they were on sale.
Yeah,
And sometimes you get the orange ones. Remember the orange ones? Yeah, they were kind of weird.
Yeah,
Charlie Finley
I
would
loved
like
them,
those.
and we used to do all these drills with the different colored tennis balls, and we would take it if it was orange, and hit it if it was green. We do all kinds of fun stuff, and good for your hand-eye. And now it's very organized. Now everything is very scripted and organized, and the fields are at a premium, and you got to rent them, and there's a lot of money makers out there now. It's all about the kind of organized making money with this stuff, and it's different now. It's different.
Well, if it takes that much time, it has to sort of make money, right? For a lot of people, I don't think there's any doubt about that, right?
Absolutely. You go back to opening day. It's so nostalgic, and it's everybody is 0-0, and everybody has a chance to make the playoffs, and it's just very exciting at that time because you never know who the new guy is that's going to step up on the team and be great and end up with the 30, 40 home runs and the 100 RBIs, and you never know who it's going to be, and it's so exciting, just the whole. I really miss the spring training and the process of getting ready for opening day is it's something that it's really hard to describe if you don't experience it.
He is Brian Coates, former big leaguer and a minor leaguer and Clemson guy and Boys Latin guy. He sells insurance here in Baltimore, and I bump into him. And last time I saw you a couple weeks ago when Ted Leonsis was up here. I mean, we're all still smitten by sports, right? So I go to your LinkedIn page, and there's a picture of you standing in the outfield at Fulton County Stadium back in '95. Once you've been a big league ball player, even for a short period of time as you were, but you're identified as a baseball player, right? There's nobody that doesn't say, there's Brian, hey, he played in the big leagues, right? That's something I don't have. That's something most of us don't have. And I think every kid in Dundalk or anywhere else that grew up wanting to play in the big leagues, you lived that experience and rubbed elbows with many, many legends, including Leo Mazzoni, who I had on here this week, and a bunch of Hall of Famers and, guys that got rings like yourself. And, going through that process, no regrets, right? I mean, as difficult as it was, as much as you wanted to make $20 million playing, you didn't do that playing baseball, but that must have been a lot of fun for you because not many of us get tapped in life to be able to do something like that and follow your dream the way you did.
It's interesting. I mean, I have no regrets at all as far as all the time I put into it and all of the work, and it was never about the money. It was I could care less about the money. It was just about doing something that required so much hard work, and it was such an unknown if it was going to happen or not. And then the pinnacle, the top of the mountain of getting to the big leagues was that was the reward in itself. I did the money. I would have, like, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, Nestor, when talking to a lot of big league guys and professional players, they would do it for nothing. It's a tremendous honor and opportunity to be amongst the best in the world, and to put that time in that I did, and the effort and the plan of just what it took. Number
is that
one,
lost on a lot of fans, you think, when they go out there on opening day drunk and see those guys run through center field? Some guy like Joey Rickard, who's a Rule 5 guy, which I know maybe you're familiar with, right?
Sure,
I mean, there are so many of those tweener guys like yourself. I mean, people pick on Ryan Flaherty because he's sat at the edge of the roster. You'd have loved to have had a career like Ryan Flaherty, right? I mean, as long as he's hung around,
Absolutely.
Right?
I don't think people realize how good he is, and anybody that puts on a big league uniform can flat out play the game. And the ones that if you really study the rosters and you really look at I think there's only, somebody was telling me that there's only 1,000 players ever in the history of the world that have played in the big leagues for 10 years or more. That's crazy. Yeah, that just shows you how hard the game is, and it's a cruel game. And if you don't celebrate the small victories in baseball, during the games, as a player, you could really get yourself in a funk and drive yourself crazy, trying to chase results that are almost impossible to chase. You just have to let the game come to you and, celebrate those small victories. Moving a runner over, hitting the ball hard at somebody is a victory. Playing good defense, good base running, just doing something, every day that's going to help the team win.
Here's Brian Kowitz. He does insurance. Tell me what you do these days, because you played baseball for a period. Did you think about what you were going to do when you were done with baseball, when you were playing baseball, or no?
I had no idea what I was going to do. I started this insurance agency about 6 years ago, called Heller Kowitz Insurance Advisors, and it's been great. You take a lot of principles of what you learn in professional sports and apply to the real world. And I've made some great relationships and have some great clients. And I do the home and the auto, commercial insurance, business insurance, and then do life insurance as well with a disability. And I work with athletes and business owners and a lot of professionals. And we look to protect we look to protect people people's assets and try to put plans in place that where their policies will respond properly. We do a lot of design work for people to help them help them make sure they're covered properly. That's what we do, and it's been very successful. And I have a great business partner, and things are going real well. We're in Greenspring Station up in Lutherville.
Everybody knows where that is. He's Brian Kowitz. You can find him out on LinkedIn, Facebook, around the corner from you at Heller Kowitz. So for the Orioles and for opening day, and for all the pomp and circumstance, because it is amazing. Once it starts, it never stops, right? I mean, they're on every night. I mean, it is a grind and all that stuff. I think in the modern era, as much as you talk about all the other things, people could be the Masters this week. We got the Liars Luncheon, the draft's coming up for the Ravens, Capitals and the Wizards playing every night. We had basketball till midnight on Monday night. Now that's over with. But, there's a million things going on. But baseball's sort of that constant buzz and that hum. And it really does make a difference when the team has a chance to win. And this is one of those years where they come north. I don't love the way they're comprised, Brian. I mean, I thought all the problems they had last year, they're going to have more than that this year. I don't think they have enough pitching. And I'm disappointed because the years start to roll through. We're 25 years at Camden Yards without ever playing a World Series game there. Lord knows with the guy that owns the team, we're never going to have an all-star game. The World Series is why you play the game. I'm not bullish on them being a World Series team this year. Can they compete? Yeah. They're going to hit the ball? Yeah. But I don't think they're well constructed from a pitching standpoint.
Yeah, the pitching is it's actually for a long time it's always been a challenge. It's always been a challenge, and they're paying a lot of money to some position players, and I think it's creating a little bit of a challenge there for our pitching, and really getting some real shutdown frontline pitchers. Nestor, you've been around the game a long time. It's a thankless game. It's a game that is it's hard to be the last team standing. I mean, look at the Cubs. Look at the Cubs. They finally won one, and they've done a good job. I don't know if they what kind of shakeup they need in the organization. From all the way from the minor league to the big leagues. What do they need to do? And
well, it's hard to recruit pitchers here. Pitchers don't want to pitch here. I mean, you played in the big leagues. If you had a special skill set, you wanted to play somewhere where you could be the most successful. And, especially when you're not willing to offer them the money that pitchers get these days. And I understand the risk and all of that. But then even if you did, no one would really want to sign up to have to go play the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays and play in a bandbox ballpark. I mean, that was always one of the really hard parts of buying arms. And McPhail would talk about, we'll grow the arms and buy the bats. I mean, that sounds good, but then you have to go grow the arms. And, when the Arrietas and the Rodriguezes and the Davies and these guys get dealt away, you find yourself, pitching with Gallardo and Jimenez and trying to give them $12 million a year to come in here.
I mean, the best chance we had to win a World Series moment was when we had Miller coming out of the pen, with O'Day, and we had an unbelievable bullpen at that point. That was our chance. That was our window, and we didn't do it. So, it's going to be an uphill battle. I mean, the Red Sox are unbelievable. The Yankees have some young, rich talent. The Blue Jays are, they're kind of hitting a little groove there with their organization.
By the way, I'm more impressed with them. I've talked to a lot of people from Toronto this week, and they have really good pitching, man. I mean,
oh yeah,
if they stay healthy, there's no way they're not going to be in it because every night they're going to pitch, and they got enough bats to hit the ball. I mean, they're not the little sisters of the poor. They hit home runs almost to the clip the Orioles do.
No, they could win it just as easy as the Red Sox would win it. I mean, the Red Sox are, in my opinion, the class of the East right now, and they are very well balanced. Their team is very, very well balanced. I worry about I love the effectiveness of O'Day and Givens. I mean he's thrown 96 yesterday. He's very, very effective as a right-handed hitter. He's not fun to hit off of, I'd like to see a little, I worry about just relying too much on the long ball because, you got to, there's during this, it's a long season. And, if you get cold, it's very difficult to rely on the long ball, and you need to be able to manufacture runs, and you need to be able to create, you need productive outs. Last year, the Orioles didn't have enough productive outs. And what I mean by that is, hitting the ball to the right side of the infield, getting a runner over, getting a runner in, basically.
They stranded guys early in the game on Monday, and you start to see them strand guys. It's situational hitting, right?
Yeah, it's exactly. That's situational hitting, being able to, just put the bat on the ball to get a guy to the next base, get a guy in from third with less than 2 outs. You got to do those things. And last year, I just remember vividly how many times we did not get the job done, because we're not giving ourselves up enough. Maybe a little, sometimes you get a little sometimes selfish. Your shoulders leaking and you're trying to jerk one out with the man on third when really all you need is a ground ball up the middle or just something. And the pros, the real good hitters, the good pros. They do that, but that's why, these guys, some of them come and go and some of them stick around. And, there's a big premium putting on home runs. And I've never been I feel like, you need to make more contact, in my opinion. I don't think striking out it's too acceptable in the game.
Well,
now.
I was going to say to you, I've asked people all week, home run, strikeout, walk, absolute results as Luke calls them, and the Sabre people add all this up. I mean, this is the game right now. I mean, Brian, I'm the same age as you, man. I collected the same baseball cards, and, I remember back to those years when, Mike Young had some funky year where he had 32 home runs and only drove an 80 run. Fred Lynn had one of those around here one year where, he hit 25 home runs and drove in 50 or something. And there was a lot of that going on the team last year where, I don't know how you hit 35 home runs and only driving 85 runs. It says nobody's on base, and when they are, you're not hitting 3-run home runs, you're hitting solo home runs. And throughout baseball, it's very, very acceptable, right? The strikeout is just fine because, well, at least it's not a double play, but when you need contact, it's a whole different thing when your whole roster's made up. The Blue Jays had like 9 guys that struck out 100 times last year. It's crazy.
If you watch the teams that win the championships or get deep into the playoffs, you're going to find a team that sees a lot of pitches, that battles up at the plate, that makes the other pitcher work. You're going to find a team when the Yankees were winning all those games, man, I tell you what, they would battle the pitcher, 10 pitch at bats,
Well, especially if it
taking a
was
lot of
Pedro,
pitches.
right? Because they wanted to get him out of the game in the fifth inning.
Yeah.
They wanted to look up in the fourth inning and see you at 74 pitches and say, all right,
Right.
that's fine. It's 2-2. We'll figure it out from here. And that's what you do against the best. And if you can't do that against the best pitchers, they're going to go 7 1/3 and stick the bats up your backside most of the time, because that's why they're making $25 million a year, right?
Right. Absolutely. And it's a great point. And that's we don't see enough of that. It's a you got to have, and then on the pitching, I'd like to see the pitchers with a game plan. And it's easy to say, Nestor, when you're sitting on your couch watching. And, we're all looking, man. I mean, it looks really easy on the couch. It's a tough game. A lot of times, we say, why didn't they do this or that? And I'm flipping the script here a little bit and saying, well, you know what? You can try to do that, and sometimes you try to throw the ball inside and it leaks out over the plate and the guy crushes one. As a pitcher going, why did he throw it there? Well, he didn't mean to throw it there. But and if you look, it's hard, because if you look at all the home runs that are hit on ESPN on like Sports Center, and they show all the home runs, you see where all the pitches are. Most of the home runs that are getting hit, they're right down the middle. You think the pitcher meant to throw it there? It shows you how hard it is to locate on a consistent basis.
Well, especially when you're pumping 92, 94. He is Brian Kowitz. He does insurance here in Baltimore. He played in the big leagues. He's our pal. I run into him around town. I've always wanted to kind of have you on in the BS. I know a couple years ago you stopped in the studio, but it was nice running into you. And, we'll reach you once in a while around here, talk to me. I love talking baseball with people that know baseball and love baseball, and certainly you've forgotten more about it than I know. I haven't run around. I got to tell you this story. Did you play with Brad Woodall? Do you remember him?
Yeah. I played with him for many years.
I saw you
Brad.
play. I saw you play in Richmond. My son and I were driving to Nags Head, and I'd always wanted to go to the Diamond,
Yeah.
And do you remember Ucrop's a grocery store down in Richmond?
Of course.
Yeah, Robbie
Yes,
Ucrop played for the Spirit up here, and actually had his
Oh.
jaw broken in a really ugly incident and whatnot. But I knew him and his family a little bit, and they let me sit in their suite down in Richmond at the old Diamond.
Nice.
The Diamond's gone, right? I mean, then they...
Well, no, it's there. It's just it's a AA franchise now, not a AAA franchise.
So they're still playing in the same
they-
facility down there?
But they're still playing there. It was way ahead of its time. That Diamond was way ahead of its time. It was a really nice stadium, but with all these new stadiums popping up, it kind of
it's 35 years old now, right?
Yeah, it got old quick.
Well, Camden Yards has aged okay, but it's hard to believe it's been 25 years, right?
It's amazing because it's a beautiful setting and beautiful place. And it'd be nice to see a beautiful championship one day.
Hey, did you ever play in the Brooks Robinson game, like over in 33rd Street when you were a kid? You seem to be like the type that would have been that guy, right?
Which one?
The old Crown game. Remember that? The All-Star game?
I never got invited to play in that, believe it or not. That for some reason.
So you never played in Memorial or Camden Yards, ever?
I played in both, but as an extra in the movie Major League 2.
Okay. I wasn't sure, if you had the thrill of doing that as a hometown kid.
I was taking batting practice in Memorial Stadium with Charlie Sheen one day after the set and after everybody shot, and he wanted to hit and I was there hitting, so he and I were hitting. It was after my 93 after I finished in Richmond in AAA, and we were hitting, and he didn't know who I was, and I was using an aluminum bat. We were messing around, and I was hitting balls like up in the third deck at Memorial Stadium, around the foul pole. And he looked at me and said, "Who the hell are you?"
Well, I've done this before, right?
He said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, can you show me? How do you do that? What do you, can you give me some pointers?" I'm like, "I'll try." So, and then I ended up going out with him and his entourage that night.
Dude, I hope you didn't hang with. I hope there was no drug testing in that era around him.
I'll tell you what. I just I couldn't keep up with.
Dude, he's got tiger blood. I mean, I've seen his work.
Yeah,
I've seen his work on you.
I'll tell you, it was rough.
Hey, tell everybody how to find you if they need some insurance in their life and what you do again.
Well, if we do home, auto, commercial, business insurance, life, disability, long-term care. We have an insurance agency. You can look us up at www.hellerkowitz.com. That's Heller, Heller, Kowitz, KOWITZ.com. or you could call us at 410-526-6690. And we are very, very, a high touch, very, very customer service focused firm. And, we love to help anybody in the area.
Hey, man, always great to see you, and hopefully let's go to a game
Thanks,
one
man.
day, man. I'd love to see the game through your eyes. I love sitting with
Let's
people
do
who
it.
really know baseball at a baseball game. It's fun.
Absolutely. Let's do it, man. Let's definitely do it. We'll, or we can go down to Bowie, watch my good buddy Gary Kendall. Who's the Bowie Bay Sox manager.
Our good buddy, Gary. You and me running wild down in Bowie with Kendall? Let's do it. Count me. I want to be there like on cow milking night or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, exactly.
We got to pick a night where there's something going on.
I participated in that in Frederick one year when I was with the Durham Bulls. I participated in the cow milking contest.
And how did you fare?
I didn't do very well.
Yeah, you didn't win.
Do very well.
Well, I mean, that's a guy from Dundalk and a guy from Pikesville milk a cow. That sounds like a joke.
Right, exactly.
Hey, man, be well. We'll see you soon, Brian. All right? Happy opening day. There he goes, Brian Kowitz, Heller Kowitz Insurance. You can find him out on the internet. Hell, half of you know him or have run into him around town. We only have 379 mutual connections on LinkedIn, Brian. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. Love talking baseball this time of year, but I got a lot of hockey I'm going to get in this week as the playoffs begin next week. We got the Brigade starting football, indoor football. I'm going to have Ted Leonsis on sometime soon this week. Lots of stuff. Ron Jaworski's been chasing me down. We're going to talk some AFL with him as well. We got the Wizards. We got the Orioles day by day. Luke's going to be running around the Liars luncheon this week, and of course the draft 3 weeks from now. Our trip to London is on sale. We got a $100 off deal. All you have to do is email me nasty at WNST.net for the $100 off deal. We'll take care of you, get you on the trip. We've got a second hotel because the first one sold out. We've got plenty of seats on the plane, but we're also doing Nashville, Green Bay, Minnesota, and wherever the Raiders play. Who the hell knows where that's going to be at this point. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And don't forget, if there's any breaking news at all, you'll get it first on the WNST Tech Service. That's brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. I'm Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.